that
I'm like,
live.
what stud is paying you to say this?
Sponsored by. This is Shana,
And Kris.
and we are Bad Queers. If you came out of the closet and got put in a box of stereotypes you don't belong to, then welcome to the Bad Queers Club.
All right, this week in Queer Urban Dictionary, I have Velvet Butch. Like this one. Velvet Butch is a lesbian who presents with a more traditionally masculine butch style, but with a touch of elegance and sophistication, often incorporating softer, luxurious elements like velvet fabric into their attire, essentially combining a strong, assertive presence with a refined aesthetic. Another definition I found from the Velvet Butch NOLA, shout out to them, that is
Mm.
actually their IG handle, is, and I love this one, this definition a little bit more, but a velvet butch is a beautifully nuanced term that captures the essence of a masculine presenting woman who embraces her softness, emotional depth, and femme sensibilities. It's a balance of strength and tenderness, someone who expresses masculinity outwardly while remaining deeply connected to the qualities often associated with womanhood, such as nurturing, intuition, and grace.
Hmm,
Velvet Butch.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My Queer Urban Dictionary word of the week is weekend gay. Weekend gay. This is someone who acts or expresses their homosexuality primarily during the weekend or in social settings. They will typically appear straight or conforming to societal expectations during the work week and party their little queer hearts out over the weekend. My sentence is, honey, don't try and clock me. I'm a weekend gay.
Hmm.
And that's how I
Okay.
heard it. That's literally how I that was
That's how you
that
heard
was
it.
a wire sentence. And I took note.
Hmm.
Wire
Okay.
sentence.
Okay. Weekend gay.
Weekend gay. All right, let's go ahead over into our category is, but first we got to praise Billy Porter. Once again, we're back with politics. So we had such a joyous time last week, and this week we're back into our first category is we're going to get this over with, is our reaction to Trump's speech to Congress. The long,
99
drawn
minutes.
out speech to Congress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And these are the things he should be bragging about that are factual, like the longest address to Congress that, no one asked for, but he
Hmm.
got it. He's the record holder with 99 minutes. He's got it. It's the longest speech to Congress ever. Um, and that's some of the takeaways. We'll go back and forth about some of the takeaways. This is six takeaways from NPR because I didn't watch it, and I did watch the reaction videos in the news afterwards, but
Yeah,
there's no way I
there
was
was an
gonna give them
attempt.
my time.
I attempted,
Oh, good for
and I
you.
was tired, exhausted within 10 minutes. And then I
Mm,
pushed through to about 25 to 30 minutes and then said,
hmm.
I'm done here.
God
I'm
bless you.
finished. It was
Yeah,
shortly after, um, my man walked out.
Al
I
Green.
walked out too. Once
Mm,
Al Green walked out, I said, Sir, you're onto
as you
something.
should.
I'ma join
As you
you.
should. Shout out to Representative Al Green, and we'll actually just start with that. Is there were come out before that Democrats were gonna do some protesting of this and everything, and some of them mentioned wearing pink in was it in honor of women, or I don't know what it was, but it fell
Yeah.
flat
There was a
because
lot of mixed shirts
okay.
because then also a lot of the black representatives, the black
Hmm.
Democratic representatives, removed their jackets to reveal black shirts with protest messages that
Yeah, I saw
stated
that.
"No kings
Jasmine
live here"
Crockett.
and others that said
They
"resist."
had
So
signs.
look, the
Um,
swag was there, okay? The people wanted the swag. I don't know where they got it from, who ordered it, but the swag was there. It felt like a mishmash of email threads.
Terrible office ideas is what it was
Hmm.
because the
All at
only really
once.
effective one was Representative Al Green stopping and standing up when Trump got to a part of his speech where he referenced his 2024 election win and claimed he had been given a mandate from the American people. And Green stood up and said no. You do not, shouting with his cane.
Yep.
They repeatedly told him that, if he didn't, he would be escorted out. And he had all the Republican hecklers, get her! And that one, did you see that clip of whoever the fuck that congressman was with his
Yes.
little stupid hand thing? So they kicked
Yeah,
him
he was
out.
like, wrap it up. And we were like, all
Yeah.
right, sir, tell that to your man's up on stage.
Listen, and I hated how silent, because there should have been definitely more people on the
Oh,
Democratic side standing
absolutely.
up
There should
at
have been
that
a full
moment
standing
too. Like it
ovation.
should have been a full thing, but
Full.
certainly even more because some of them are pussy, clearly, obviously. But some of them should have taken that moment to be like, no, let's make the like if he had the courage to stand up, cane and all, shaking it and like being like, fuck all this.
Hmm.
And even when he talked to the reporters afterwards, he said it was worth it to let people know that there are some people who are going to stand up to Trump. So they should have taken that moment. They just let him get booed and heckled, didn't say nothing, didn't stand up, like, nothing. So
Hmm.
their shirts, their merch, some of
I
them did
did.
leave throughout the session afterwards, not in that
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
But it felt like it's like a episode of The Office where they got together and like, okay, his address to Congress is coming up. Like, what should we do? And it's like signs, like let's. And I appreciated some of the
I
signs,
did
like
like the
calling him
signs,
lying,
especially being like false.
that your
That's a
taxes
lie.
false.
Elon
It
Musk
gave a
steals.
very WWE-esque or college game day-esque kind of
Hmm.
atmosphere of like these signs where it's like, oh no, that's a good sign. But it still isn't like, hey, why don't you stand the fuck up and like interrupt his speech? Like I've
Yeah.
seen these videos of congressional hearings or parliament hearings in other countries where it's like it goes wild. Like if this man and how people have explained it to you overnight, if y'all have said this man is Hitler, this man is a fascist, he is so dangerous to America, y'all still aren't acting like it. You still aren't. Like it should have been he had 99 minutes to glaze himself to lie like he was going to do.
Hmm.
And why I didn't watch it too is like I think first off Trump doesn't like working. Like I know he doesn't like working, but the one thing he does like about his jobs are like these moments. Like when he's
Oh
going to get
yeah.
on camera and talk, I know he wakes up in the morning so happy. Like this is the part of the job I want to do. So he took the 99 minutes to lie. We'll go through again some of the takeaways.
Hmm.
It was a very partisan speech, as we know. And as we know, there were a lot of false and inaccurate things said. In this NPR article, they're like, there were so many things that here is a separate page for all of it.
Yep.
Uh, but some of the ones that stood out, let's see. Doge has found hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud. Their current numbers don't add up. And Elon's been backtracking with like, we're gonna make mistakes.
Mm.
He said that there's lots of dead people over 120 years old and older getting Social Security payments.
Didn't he say
Even
like as
his
old as
own,
350?
he's just
Something like
lying.
that.
His own head of Social Security Administration said that that's not true. And then that the country brought in trillions of dollars from tariffs on China during Trump's first term. That's not correct. The tariffs were put on roughly 380 billion worth of goods, but that did not lead to a net positive for the U.S. economy. So clearly a bunch of lies that he went through. Let's see, he had some ask of his Republican-led Congress. Some of them included more money for deportations, another round of major tax cuts, not for the middle or working class, you know that.
Of course not.
Enhanced police protections, although there was no mention of January 6th and the assault on police at the Capitol. He asked for a new crime bill because Republicans will do that. They're like, we haven't, you know what, we haven't updated in a while. They do it every term. And mandating the death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and then creating a Golden Dome missile system, which it alludes to or is related to Israel has a Iron Dome that responds to rockets lobbied at its country. So yeah, 99 minutes of him glazing himself, obviously lying, some very cult-like behavior. Republicans, I mean, goodness, like soulless. It's a real cult over there.
Hmm.
So yeah, anybody who watched it, who got through it, you even with the time that you got through it, God bless you because
My goodness. That's time I'm
Oof.
never getting back. Ever.
I mean, you know,
He did
I'm like,
that.
it has been only 6 weeks.
Only 6 weeks.
That's it. Like, that's it. I don't
Hmm.
know when the State of the Union's coming up. I know he has it circled on his calendar, but God only knows how long that's going to be. He
He
might
said,
even make
make
that
sure I am
pay-per-view.
home. Make sure I
Yeah,
am
right,
home.
right, right,
You
right.
do
He's
like
gonna
the
clear out.
Netflix fight night that they did. Like it'd be like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So that to who wants to platform this, which they
Right.
will.
Prime is
Um
gonna do it. It's gonna be Prime.
Prime
That's what's
would,
gonna do it.
Prime would.
Number one.
Yeah, Prime would.
So
They
yeah.
would, they
But
would.
you know he couldn't go through his talk without talking about our community either,
Mm,
which were all lies. Even though he
naturally.
stated, and this is coming from LGBTQ
Wild
Nation,
lies too.
he stated wild lies. So he stated, of course, he had to start off with like, we've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion. I appreciated a graphic that I saw earlier, and I wish I had saved it, but it basically highlighted some of the key problematic presidents and what terms they leaned on to basically say racism.
Mm,
Trump, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. But then it went back to a few other presidents and highlighted
mm-hmm.
what the words were and what their talking points were
Mm-hmm.
to just talk about racism. So that
Yeah.
is Trump's word. And of course,
All
he
with
had to
the Southern
say,
strategy is when they were like, how
yes,
do we say niggers without
the
saying
hardy
the
are,
words? Yeah, like how do
hardy
we say
are.
it without saying it? Like it's not,
And they
you
found
can't
the words.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
And
did.
it's like, this is not new behavior, but this is his.
Hmm.
So the tyranny of so-called DEI policies all across the federal government, private sector, and military, our country will be woke no longer,
Mm.
is what he stated. He continued to say that he signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. And I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. All of this is just problematic, untrue. I was like, Congress thankfully just blocked that from
Yeah.
happening. So great for them. And then he had pointed out two anti-trans activists, well, one of two, and repeated the claim from Peyton McNabb that a transgender female volleyball opponent smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face that it caused a traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. Then Trump falsely claimed that trans women are dominating boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, and then said that a male recently finished a long distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record, which was also found to be false. It was really just like 4 minutes.
Yeah. And it was like a 5K. Like
Yeah. Some
it wasn't even like competition for real.
other people have pointed out a few other races and stuff that he could have been talking about. Coach Jackie mentioned a race that was like 800 miles and it was like backpacking and carrying your bike and a bunch of other stuff and how that could time out. LGBTQ Nation in this article talks about uh, Glenique Frank, a trans woman who came in 6,160th place in the 2023
Mm,
London Marathon
taking
with a
over.
time of 4 hours, 11 minutes, 28 seconds, competing in the 50 to 54 age bracket, but set no records and was beaten by a bunch of other women. So, there's a lot of situations where he really just didn't point out what was happening. Um, Trump repeated Little John's claim that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl, and teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns, the
Mm.
they them pronoun, to be specific, all without telling them. And Trump said that that was a form of child abuse. So many incorrect things. He also said that he signed executive orders banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology and that he will cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in sexual mutilation of our youth. So, it was a grand old time for the
Grand
trans
old
community
lies.
on this grand old lies all throughout this. It's wild. There was more that he said, but this is just high level. He even referring to transgender mice, which isn't what it is.
Transgender
It's not what it
minds.
is. So it was just, it was a wild time out here. watching him talk. And that was the time when I did get off, you could see him just leaning in, getting comfortable and be like, yeah, boast me up. Yeah. He's leaning forward, he's smug, he's playing the audience, he's doing all his reality TV nonsense. And I'm just like, and this is my
Mm-mm.
time to exit stage left. I'm gonna follow Al. We're gonna leave, and I'm gonna go watch anything else.
Transgender mice.
Transgender mice.
Gotta watch out. They're next. They're next up.
Okay.
They're next up. Yeah. So, yeah. And they obviously there is some sort of speech writer, but in a very not so fun office episode, their brainstorm for this speech is nuts. Like how they find these stories, these people, that one person who came in, what, 6,160th place. Like,
Uh-huh.
wow.
How?
Wow, wow, wow.
Who
Yeah,
showed this to him? Who's doing the research?
it's crazy.
Because you know he's not.
He's not. He's probably some Doge intern that has to do more jobs than they signed up for because, they never tell you everything you're going to do for your
How
job. So
funny would that be to like be the recruiter that has to interview the Doge intern after they were done interning
I
for like
know.
whatever job that they decide to start?
Yeah. There were some Doge people that quit in good numbers a couple days before.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you don't want to work for Elon, huh? Hmm.
Wild. Wild.
If only there was a way to figure out or know that he's not a good boss or leader.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
It's hard. There's not a lot of
Really is. It's very
what is it,
confusing.
possibility models out there. So like, how would you know? It's not like he's done this before. So there was no way for you
Never.
to know he was awful,
Never.
awful
What are you talking
leader.
about? A
Yeah.
saint.
Yeah. No way. No
Mm,
way. Oh, okay. Well, that was enough. That was enough of politics.
yeah,
That's enough.
that's we've done it.
We did it.
Yeah,
We did it.
good for us. Let's go ahead to our
Mm,
next category is which I don't know if it's better because it's just trash.
mm.
So we're gonna
Different
talk
type of trash, if
different
you
type of
will.
trash. So
Hmm.
next category is we're talking
Harmless trash.
harmless.
Harmless
Yes,
trash.
harmless trash is
Yeah.
what we're getting to our next category is.
Mm,
So we'll highlight Love is Blind, the Oscars, whatever else we're watching,
mm,
all of
hmm.
that. So I want you all to know how much I care about you who listen to this show because I have pushed through this season of Love is Blind. I am caught up. By the time this episode comes out, the final episode will come out, and like the wedding episode, and then hopefully very shortly after the reunion, which will be the stalest reunion of all time.
Mm.
But my goodness,
It's
I
looking
have
so dry.
pushed through for you all that are listening so I can give you the highlights, which really are just nothing. This season, Kris, I've never
So
fallen
funny. You're like
asleep.
scraping the bottom,
No,
bottom of the
like,
barrel.
and it's literally like I have fallen asleep every episode.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it's like
Now
my nap
that's
time.
something.
And then
Wow.
I wake up and I'm like, fuck, that means I have to rewind, go
Hmm.
back, see what the fuck I've had to rewind for solid nap times, like 20 to
That's
30 minutes.
hilarious.
And mind you, people, I don't nap. It is a rare
You're
occasion
one of
that I
those.
nap.
I don't either. I can't nap. I'm bad at napping.
So
They
the fact
probably
that
have
each
it.
time,
That show is on the right hertz. You know how they have the sound
yes,
hertz now. That's supposed to relax
yes,
you. It's like at 60, whatever it's supposed to be. It's at the correct hertz for you to just relax and you'd be like, white noise.
no, but it was because it literally is white noise.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, episode title.
there it is.
We got it.
So let me fill you in on what has been happening
Yeah, thank
with these
you.
couples. So first we have Lauren and David. Lauren and David were the couple that I was talking about that like David was between Lauren and Madison, or no, not Madison, Lauren and Molly. Again, all these basic names. We're talking Ben,
Mm,
David, Lauren,
you really
Daniel,
are.
Taylor, Monica, Joey, Dev. Like,
Very 90s names too.
yes,
Mm,
absolutely that. So Lauren and David had like a thing with Molly, but Molly ended up not being the person that matched with him. But every time Lauren and David spoke, mind you, David looks like he is Ken Doll's cousin,
mm,
like the one that wasn't really that popular, and they immediately shelved him.
hmm
But he always wanted to be Ken.
Yeah, what's
Like,
the name of that? You keep talking. I was like,
okay,
you're talking about the non-Ken doll
yeah.
that, what's the name of that?
I don't know. Please, live
Yeah,
Googles.
I'll look.
So Lauren and David, I was like, first of all, Lauren, girl, you should have run in the pods. The moment that he wasn't all about you and he kept going back and forth and back. And then he kept mentioning his sister and how she wasn't going to approve of this. And then I'm like, sir, first of all, what does your sister have to do with this? You are 32 years old, but you look like you're pushing 45. Second of all, why why is your sister running your life?
Hmm.
I just don't understand. And as soon as they left the pods,
Alan?
the chemistry, hey, Alan, the
Alan.
chemistry was never there. Like, if they kept them there and he was just trying to push through towards the end so that they could get to the wedding and figure it out, like, he wasn't doing a great job. Each time
Mm.
she was like, I could FaceTime your family. I wrote a letter to your sister, but when you visited her, you just chose not to give it to her. Your friends are digging up this guy that you also know that I used to hook up with. But now you're saying that you don't trust me because I used to hook up with this guy, but I really, like, he was a fuck buddy and that's all it was.
Mm.
And he was like, yeah, well, he texted you recently. And she was like, and I didn't answer. He was like, well, then why? And they just kept holding on to that. They were planning for a friends to come over. And he was like, yeah, my friends are kind of like on standby because they don't know if they want to come in and like make you uncomfortable. And she's like, why is this still an issue? It was literally, Kris, like multiple episodes of us realizing that this man is never going to tell his family, his
Mm.
friends about this girl in the proper way that he should, and won't really bring her into their life. And so finally they ended it. Thank
Who ended
goodness.
it? Did she end it?
She did. It
Or
was it was like
okay.
a lot of back and forth, a lot of tears from her, like
Mm.
a lot of things happening. It
Mm.
was a lot. It was a lot
What
happening.
so he was completely different within the pods, and when they got out, he was like on some
Well,
nah.
no, even in the pods, it was questionable because he kept being like,
Okay. I was gonna ask were the signs there, or
yes,
was it one of those
the
things when
signs
they got
were
out?
absolutely there.
Mm.
Absolutely there. I was just like, sir, I'm gonna need you to relax
Mm.
like a lot.
I don't know
And
why men go on that show. That it seems like none of them really want to get married, or they're like, wow,
I don't know.
y'all were
It's
dead
like they
ass.
forget that they got on there and they went through
Yeah.
this whole process to get
They're
on
like,
here to get married. And then they're
what if
like,
we could just continue dating?
but
It's
my
like,
sister
well,
will
that's
hate it. And I'm like, why does your sister run your life? So they ended up breaking up. It became a whole thing, even though like
mm.
he just had no feelings or emotions. He would sit there and be like, I know, this is so shitty. Wow. I hate making you sad. Oh no. And like that's how he sounded the whole
Mm.
time.
Sounds
So
very Minnesota.
Lauren and David. Ben and Sarah. Sarah is the one that I had hope for because she had the lesbian sister and she was calling this man out. But then she went back and he was all like, oh, well, I'm accepting. But I didn't look into Black Lives Matter. That guy, Ben.
Mm.
And then she has continued to ask this man about his politics and his religion and all of the things. She continues to put a lot of effort into trying to go to church with this man
Mm.
and hear the sermons and listen and understand the stories. This man still just continues to not have any recollection of anything, have any memory of anything. She even asked about some girl that popped up out of nowhere. And she was like, well, when was the last time you messaged her? He was like, I don't know, like years ago. What was the last conversation about? I don't know. I mean, she messaged me. I didn't message her back. I don't really
They
know.
never know.
Uh
They
it
never know.
it really doesn't his whole theme, Ben's whole theme is it really doesn't pertain to me.
Mm.
So I'm not going to engage with it. So he is just this dopey little human going through life,
Mm.
but because he's cute, that's what it's going to be. The
Mm.
sister's wife is the real MVP of all of this because she has called out everything. She's pointed out everything. She's been like,
Mm.
y'all, girl, get your shit together. Why are you going to do this with this man who doesn't align with a bunch of the things that are core to your values?
Because marriage. She was like, uh,
She's like,
I
guess
want
what?
to get married.
I'm leaving here with something.
Yeah.
And that's what she said.
That
Because
is.
she's been the one pushing for it. Ben has just been like, I'm happily in love and let's go and do it. But not really
Mm.
like concerned or flustered. He is the prime example of like chill white privilege. He's just out here
Okay.
chilling.
Yeah.
He's not causing any
Yeah.
problems, but he's not adding
Hmm.
to the solution,
Yeah.
you know? So he's
Yeah.
just
Very comfortable in it.
very comfortable, very fine. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't need to push any
He's like,
buttons. I don't need to
oh,
do anything.
oh, racism does suck. Oh,
Yeah,
good luck.
like it's out there. I don't see it,
Yeah.
but I know technically, in
Yeah.
theory, it's out there.
I have a friend who told me about
Yeah,
it
my
once.
one black friend.
I told him to
I wonder
stop
what's be
afterwards,
like. I
but
wonder what's happened to him. I don't
yeah.
remember the last time I texted him.
Mm,
Oh well, and keeps it
Minneapolis.
pushing
Mm.
and keeps it pushing. I'm like, sir, I cannot with you. Um,
I don't know how you're making it through this.
yo,
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I
I
cannot.
mean, you're very brave. You're almost done. Thank you so much.
Almost done. My
Yeah. Good thing they don't drag this out. Like it's really like a 3 week run or 3 or 4 weeks
this
where
feels
they
like it's been dragged out.
okay.
It feels like it has.
They're like, Vanessa, Nick, we're gonna need you to dig around
Wrap
in
it
the
up.
bag
Wrap
and
it up.
like bring something in this reunion because it probably will be the lowest
Wrap
watch.
it up.
They might not
Wrap.
even have a reunion. It might be just like a blog post.
Oh my God, the reunion is gonna be like pulling teeth.
Yeah. How many
Pulling
past
teeth.
couples do you think they're gonna add to this
They
reunion?
have to add a lot. They have to add a lot.
Let's
Like
check in with.
bring the baby,
Mhm.
bring, I don't
Yeah.
even know. Bring
Yeah.
something. Bring something
They're gonna have
and
like
do
other
it.
Netflix stars come in. They're like, Aaron Pierre
Yes.
is here
Here.
to promote.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you
Mufasa.
seen Rebel Ridge, y'all? Like just like random, like, oh, okay.
It's gonna be
Just
great.
trying so hard. Yeah,
So
God bless
hard.
the producers.
So hard. So yeah, so Daniel and Taylor, them and their little Christmas loving selves. Their parents looked basically the exact same. They had the parents come and visit each other. The parents look the same, except Taylor's parents are older than
Hmm.
Daniel's. Daniel still looks like he's punching and he doesn't realize that he is, but he seems allegedly like a sweet human. And that's all I can really say about them. I'd probably be friends with Taylor because she's funny. And
Hmm.
that's really all I got. Monica and Joey. This is the Labrador Retriever couple that I mentioned. The more that
Oh,
we get through it with Joey, though, like he's a fun, goofy human. He makes really solid points. He seems like a together person.
hmm.
But Monica continues to be questionable about whether or not he likes her because he doesn't do like different acts of things. Like he's not a PDA person. And she says she's not a PDA person, but she's like, but the other couples look like they're kind of like infatuated with each other physically. And we just really weren't doing that. And I was like, ooh, girl, the moment that you start comparing yourself to other couples, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Joey keeps being like, I'm trying to get better at it. And I'm like, what is going on? What what is going on? At showing affection to your soon-to-be wife?
Well,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
if he wasn't good before, this little however many week crash course is not gonna like
It's
remedy
not.
it.
It's not.
I
It
love that
really
that's
is.
their only
That's their
problem.
main drama. And the sister, because initially when they met the sister, she was skeptical, but of course she is. Majority of these families are skeptical
Yeah,
of that. And so he
yeah,
called it out and was like, is your sister maybe jealous? And so I feel like they're going to call that out at the reunion if they end
that's
up together.
interesting.
So yeah.
The producers are like, can you be more jealous?
Yeah. Like, can you play this
Outwardly
up?
jealous? Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks. That would be
Thanks.
great. And
Yeah.
then finally, the one black couple, Virginia and Devin.
Oh, there was a
They
black
have
couple that made it through.
literally drawn out the fact that Virginia asked for a prenup,
Mm.
which is the only person who has made like the responsible choice to talk about the fact that they are getting a prenup, which is smart because you've
Mm-hmm.
seen how many people get divorced on this show.
Yeah.
And so they really drew it out and made it seem like it was dramatic and all of this stuff. And then at the end, it was like Devin came back and was like, okay, I talked to a lawyer, I talked to some friends and my family, and everybody says it's a great idea. Happy music, all the things. Here, let's
Mm.
sign it now. Let's go. We're getting married. And I'm like, this is crazy. And that
Wow,
was their
I'm
drama.
actually just shocked there's a black couple. So that is
Yeah.
wonderful. I need to see their photos and what they look like.
Yeah,
But
go ahead and look at their photos.
hmm,
Go ahead and look at
probably
their photos
later.
and see what
I'm
happened.
gonna disassociate a little bit. No, I was like, woo, this
Yep.
is this is something. I
It's
don't know how you
just
stay
and
awake.
like even
But
Virginia and Devin aren't giving me like love, love vibes. Like
Mm,
she says that he's great and I love that he coaches basketball and all the kids. And he's like, yeah, but he just seems like he's off
hmm.
in another dimension a lot of the times. And I know like him being teacher and coach, and he's probably exhausted majority of the time that they're filming,
Okay.
which is which
That's
I
a
get
lot of things.
a
Those are
lot of things.
time
But it's like
commitments.
those two together, even like when they go to like hold hands, it feels like a pause before
Mm,
they get there. And they're all talking about like, yeah, no, we want to have like a bunch of kids and we want to do all this. And I'm just like, again, the people who I feel like should be making it to the end just aren't showing it in certain ways. It just feels like a
hmm.
lot of awkward interactions. Like she's like, "What else do you need to know about me before we get married?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I think we know everything we need to know. So let's do it." And I'm like, "There's no excitement."
No other questions. He said, I wrapped up my investigation. I'm
He said, "I'm
pretty solid.
good." Ben tried to do that too when Sarah was asking him more questions about politics and whatever else. He was like, "Yeah, I don't, I just don't really know. I just had a really long work day and I'm just tired. So I'm really not going to have any answers for you." I'm like, these are the poorest excuses I've ever heard. So, y'all, you're welcome. We pushed through.
Yeah, you
We've
are
made
so
it.
brave.
I just need them to hurry up and get married or not get married and see who made it and see who they bring back to the reunion. Because
Mm,
what, even the drama that they tried to start between like Madison and Alex, who were people who didn't end up matching, but made it seem like, oh my God, here's this big drama. And I was already like, Madison, you are a red flag as well. Like, Alex was asking certain questions and he was paying attention to the emotional intelligence. But then as soon as he saw that she was hot at the airport, he was like, oh my God, wait, I take it back. And I'm like, sir, you look like a cartoon character. So just let it be, let it go. Let it be, let it go. Let her go. She dyed her hair pink, came back and was like, let me be rebellious, tell you all the drama of what Alex did, and then kept it pushing. It's just forced. So forced. We did our best.
well,
Sorry,
thank you again.
Minnesota.
No, thank you again.
Mm-mm.
Thank you. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Congratulations, or I'm sorry for anybody who sat through that, watched the show, listened to this segment, that
Mm.
were either like, yeah, or oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling the paint dry too, or falling asleep, or whatever hurts that thing is on. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know what the do we know what the next city is gonna be?
I
Yeah.
hope it's better. I just hope it's
Yeah.
better. Oh my God.
Yeah, that one
I
was
have no
tough.
idea. I have no
Shout out to
idea.
those producers because this one was a doozy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we make this interesting. Because I was like, there was a part of me that was like, oh, like even though I'm not gonna watch, maybe it does have like a lot of drama this season, but I've seen it talked about nowhere. Like I don't,
No.
it's not the same energy
Like
at
not
all.
even the
Even on the white
spoilers?
publications and stuff like that, I don't see recap videos. I don't see
Mm-mm.
anybody talking about it. And that's
Nope.
the thing is like, it's not because it's just a mostly white cast, because obviously most things are mostly white. So it's not that. But yeah, no one's talking about it. I see it nowhere. I see
No.
no discussions about it,
Not even spoilers, because there's nothing to
nothing.
spoil.
Nothing. Yeah,
Nothing to
this is a
spoil.
mess. Yeah. Woof. All
Mm-mm.
right. Whew. I don't know if we have time for Oscars. We should probably mention World Pride and keep it pushing because
That's fine with me.
yeah,
I really
Oscars with
didn't I
Oscars.
really didn't watch it. I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to, and then we're gonna continue to give her a shout out, is Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande's performance.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning. Queen
Mm-hmm.
Latifah performing as well.
Queen Latifah
Stunning.
looked great on the red
And
carpet.
hold on,
Too.
what was the name of the costume designer?
Oh, Paul Tazwell.
There we go,
Mm-hmm.
winning for best costume
Mm-hmm.
design because you ate that up.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Ate that up. The details,
Yeah.
like I've never watched so many videos about clothing design and fashion design as I did when they were making the stuff for Wicked because it was so intentional.
Yeah.
And I learned so much. I was like, this is educational and entertaining. And look at you putting all of this in here. Amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Smooth
History
transition.
making.
History
Yeah. I think
making.
the only the only costume design I've watched was Ruth E. Carter, who was the last black person to win for Black
Uh,
Panther, and the costuming with that was crazy.
so
And
great.
just saying, all the stuff that they've created. Shout out to just all the technical categories that won. Um, yeah, didn't hear so much about the Oscar. I mean, there's, clips, but
Yeah, no,
yeah, seemed like it was kind of whatever.
that was really
Zoe
it.
Saldana, I know she claimed being Dominican once and for all, y'all. Like,
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, don't go out for the black roles then anymore.
Yeah, that interview
See
afterwards
very
looked and
clear
felt
then.
awkward, and then
Yeah.
everybody brought up her Nina Simone.
Yeah, because it's like, well, then don't be black when it's convenient. Like, you could have said you're Afro Latina, but is she? I guess not. But she let y'all know
It was
she's
like she is.
not black. So, yeah. All right. Just don't go for the black roles, That Nina Simone thing is still very
It's
crazy. She
too
really should have just said
wild.
nah. Like that was just like a crazy thing to just take. Like just
Like the
yeah.
moment that you saw your
Yeah.
makeup, you should have been like, let me just go ahead and rip
I
that
shouldn't
contract
do
up.
this. I shouldn't do this. And it wasn't even like it was like she could plead. Like it would have been wrong in every era, but it was certainly during a time where like public sentiment and like people your team somebody should have told you
Somebody.
probably not this one. Mm-mm,
Honestly, she
mm-mm,
should be happy
mm-mm.
that she didn't do it in today's day and age.
I mean, she could have
My
though.
God.
Really, can you imagine? When did
My
that come out?
God. And
Simone,
and that she has these long-term contracts with
2016.
yeah, man, you
So
only missed that by a few years. So
yeah, it would have been
only missed that.
worse.
Woo!
But
Woo!
let's say they were filming 2014, 2015. You should have known better for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like there were conversations going around, but they probably weren't as mainstream as they are now. But you absolutely should have said nah.
Yeah.
Like you should you should have
Yeah.
said nah to that. Like that was pretty. She did apologize,
She
but
did.
yeah, I'm just like, all right, well then just again, she identifies how she identifies, but just then leave the black roles alone. Like don't
Hmm.
don't you can't hopscotch there. So
Wow.
anything else from the Oscars? Did you like Conan? Oh, you didn't really watch
I
it,
really
but I
didn't.
I like Conan,
I like Conan as well, but yeah, I wasn't. It's not. Honestly, again, that was another thing that I noticed on the internet was that there really weren't a lot of clips of him either. So
Yeah,
I'm like, how
yeah.
funny were you, Conan?
Mm-mm,
It's
mm-mm.
unfortunate
Nothing
because
really.
he is one of the hosts that I truly don't mind.
hmm I saw the Kendrick joke and I thought, oh, okay, that was
Yeah,
funny.
I just
But
saw
I
Adam
think we're also
Sandler.
have, oh, I saw that too. That was a cute
Yeah,
little bit. Um, but yeah, I didn't see that much clips either. So, yeah, well, congrats to the winners. There was also the best documentary winner,
hmm
which I don't have their names, but I know it was a Palestinian gentleman and an Israeli gentleman came together to make this movie. It was like no, is it No More Land? Let me see. It's something land, but I thought that was a good moment. No Other Land.
no other land.
You can't find that nowhere. They are bearing this. No Other Land. And I did see that speech and that was great to see. And then just to have those two folks to come together. The film was made by a Palestinian Israeli collective showing the destruction of occupied West Bank. So I thought that was a great moment that should have been amplified, but it wasn't.
Hmm
Um, you know,
Yeah, never was
but
going to be here.
it was never going to be. But
Nope.
nope. But yeah, the Oscars are yeah, kind of dry this year too. So,
Yeah.
but funner news.
Yeah, more fun.
Yeah,
More
more
fun. All
fun,
right.
more fun.
Final category is the World Pride lineup is leveling up a
It's a
bit.
good one.
Yeah, I was like, I know that we initially announced the like Jennifer Lopez and Troye Sivan, and we were just like, what? But now we've got some other things that we're excited about. Speaking of Cynthia Erivo was recently announced as the World Pride headliner. She's going to go
Very
on that
cool.
stage and just belt in our faces
Mm-hmm.
for 45 minutes to an hour. And it's gonna be glorious. I'm here for this.
What are the World
And
Pride dates?
they are June 6th and 7th,
Okay.
I believe.
First weekend of
Yeah, Saturday, June 7th is when Cynthia will perform after the parade, and it is a free 2-day street festival and concert on Pennsylvania Avenue.
mm.
Also, Janelle Monáe and Grace Jones will be performing at the Anthem DC,
Wow, wow,
I
wow.
believe June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Right before all of this, it was like they kick off everything. So Wow, to see those.
So cool.
First of all,
On
to
their
see that
site, they
performance.
officially say May 17th through June 8th, but obviously all the
Oh yeah, because
festivities are back
most of the
ended,
prides
you
run
know.
like a month. It's like Chicago Pride technically runs for the whole month, but like the
Yeah.
important 2 days are the final weekend of
Yeah.
June.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's exciting. We love to see it. Y'all forgot that Cynthia does make music. And I wonder if she's gonna perform some of those songs, or she's just gonna go up and give us Broadway, or just cover everybody's stuff because she does every single one of the tributes and
Yeah,
does
she could do
them
everything.
well. They call her up for those tributes. So interesting to see. But yeah, if y'all are gonna be at World Pride, Pride DC, let us know. It is World Pride. It's not Pride DC. World Pride. It's not because it's Capital Pride and then there's World Pride. World Pride is in DC. So if y'all are going, let us know. And yeah, that's what we got for
And it's
category.
like what? That's I guess that would be DC Black Pride and then Pride the very next week. That is
Yeah.
quite a 2 weeks in
Yep.
DC. Shout out.
Wow. Maybe
Shout
I should
out,
just go and hang out in
girl.
DC for two
Yeah,
weeks.
you might as well. Go home.
Yeah. I mean,
Go home.
there's potentially a flag football tournament that's happening then. So I'm like, please sign up for it so that we can be there. I want to be
Yeah,
all in
that's
it.
very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, let's move on to our advice segment, Am I a Bad Queer? Where we get real about your questions and dilemmas. Got something on your mind? Don't keep it to yourself. Send your questions to badqueers.com. Hit us up on IG at badqueerspod or email us at badqueers@badqueers.com. All right. This first one is from Ami. Ami asks, am I a bad queer for not wanting to come out to my grandparents? I'm already out to my parents and close family, but when it comes to my grandparents, I just don't see the point. My friends keep telling me I should because I'm really close with them, but like, what is there to gain? They could react positively or they could not, but either way, I'm not looking for their approval or life advice. Our relationship is solid as is, and I don't feel like queerness needs to be a required conversation. But now I feel low key guilty, like I'm hiding something. Am I wrong for just wanting to keep things how they are? I mean, I don't think you're a bad queer for this. I do think that there's some family members that don't have to know, and maybe, I mean, in your case, it seems like your grandparents, like you aren't looking for their approval or life advice, you never know, they might surprise you.
Hmm.
You can't be like, I had a bisexual experience back in college. Uh, but I don't think it's required. It doesn't seem like there's any shame involved with this. It's just a more of like I don't need to talk to them about my love life kind of thing. And if they're not asking anything, then wow. But also, because those like grandparents ask about those things like love lives, but some don't. So maybe they don't, maybe it doesn't come up and you don't want to tell them. I think that's your prerogative. I mean, if you're out to your parents and close family members, the other ones, then yeah, do what you do.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't feel like they need to come out anymore. So it sounds like you might just be in that window. If you're dating somebody, maybe that's the time that you want to, but also it could just be when you show up and you're like, this is my partner. And that's really it. And they just have to accept it in that way. So I think a lot of people don't feel the need to come out anymore, and that's okay. So you don't need to really feel low-key guilty if it's not taking away anything from your relationship. I'm sure at this point you would have recognized if they were phobic because grandparents love to just say what's on the top of
Oh,
their
they would
head.
tell you. You would already know.
Like you would already
They would
know.
have
So
already told you.
honestly, if it's in that realm, I feel like you could feel good about just going and telling them if you wanted to. Otherwise, you could wait until you brought a partner home or you say that you're going to a pride parade or anything like that, and maybe that can lead to a discussion. But otherwise, if you don't want to, you don't need to, but you don't seem it's not anything that you seem stressed about. You just don't seem fussed about it. And I think that's the difference. Like if you feel like, oh my God, I'm keeping stuff away from them, then probably looking deeper. But for this, you're just like, I really just don't care. And that's okay.
Yeah. Especially if they haven't said anything. I mean, I
Yeah.
was like,
They haven't said
If they
anything,
haven't asked you, they haven't, if it hasn't come up, maybe they already know. They just don't care.
right?
Yeah, I guess if
Because a
it
lot of
doesn't come up, it
grandparents
doesn't
do
come up.
already know.
Yeah. They're like, I mean, I knew. But you're out to your family. You're out to your close family, so the people that matter in your life. Um, yeah. I was late telling my dad, and coming out to my dad, like he found out years after everybody, but he knew at that point. Um,
Same.
yeah, it was just like I wasn't going to him for love advice, ever. So yeah, like I just told him when I told him, like he just found out when he found out. So sometimes it's just like that with people. And then I was like, did I tell a grandparent? I didn't grow up with grandfathers. And by the time I came out, my maternal grandmother had passed. So my paternal one was here. But yeah, we didn't have that conversation before she passed on. But I probably wouldn't have told her because I don't talk to grandma about those kind of things. So
Hmm.
she would have probably been vocal another way about it. But yeah, I didn't talk to her like about those things. So I would have wanted to be like FYI, you know. So happy spring. Hope that helps me. Don't tell your grandparents if you don't want to, as long as you're not a bad queer, as long as there's no like shame involved or whatever. So tell who you want to tell.
Hmm. Thanks for writing in. All right, our next Am I a Bad Queer comes from Layla. Layla says, Am I a bad queer for getting annoyed when people assume I date men first? I'm a bisexual woman and have dated more women than men. Why do folks continue to think that if you are bisexual, it's always men first, especially in the LGBTQ plus community? Am I wrong for snapping at people when they do this? Layla,
Mm,
honestly, honestly, no. You are teaching the people. Because I think that is a huge assumption is that, oh, like you're bisexual because you were with men before and then you decided to like slippery slope into dating women. And then it's the pathway that leads you to being a lesbian. But what about those bisexuals who started off dating like same gender? We don't talk about that enough.
yeah.
So I think you're doing the work for the people, Layla. And that is just a giant stereotype because that's typically what happens is the bisexual to lesbian pipeline. And that's why people just assume that you probably dated men first and then went to date women when really there are bisexuals out there who have dated same gender, had same gender love, and then pivoted and then realized that it was both. And I don't think that gets talked about enough.
Yeah. I think, well, you're not a backward for snapping at people because I think them
Snap at
assuming
them.
this and, you know, wanting to lead with this in conversation with you is like at their own risk. So, yeah, you correct them. You set them straight, let them know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I like this one. This is a great one to write in on. Thank
Yeah.
you, Layla.
All right. Our next one comes from Joe. Joe asks, am I a bad queer for correcting straight people when they get my identity wrong, but letting hot queer people slide? Hmm.
Mm,
If a random straight person calls me the wrong thing, I'm giving a full TED talk. But if a queer baddie says something off, I just giggle and let it happen.
not
Alrighty, fun.
giggle.
Anyways, love the pod. Thanks, Joe. Joe, you know, that pretty privilege exists. It's a
Wow.
real thing, and
Giggle.
that's how you want to go about it. It's more important to you to, and for the community as a whole, for you to
Mm,
absolutely set straight people
straight.
straight. Yeah. But and you should with the baddies too, but maybe maybe that's something you circle back to.
Yeah.
Um so you are technically a bad queer for this though. Because you should be really actually educating in the community too
Oh
because
man.
the looks are I get it. So you're not a bad queer for that because I definitely understand There's a pretty privilege absolutely exists, and there are some things what that you just like let
So funny.
roll off. But you should be setting them straight too. You could do it in a playful way. Um, and yeah, that's gonna help them. I feel like educating in the community is, I was gonna say just as important, but I think a little bit more important. So you should actually be setting the baddie straight.
Mm,
So. mm.
that's so funny.
Joe is making business decisions.
Okay.
Okay.
They said
Matters
priorities.
of the heart.
They
Okay.
said this is a top priority is for me to get some,
Matters of the heart.
then my
Is it
identity.
important to get this TED talk off now? Like, do I want to suck all the air out of the room? But nah, you should still be correcting them at some point. Maybe not initially, and maybe not the TED talk, but you can make it a more entertaining way of
Yeah.
setting them straight. It doesn't have to be a TED talk.
Yeah, you could flip the script. Like Chris said, you could do it in a
Be like,
flirtatious
you are
way.
too fine to be this uninformed. Like
Oh,
something that's
that's funny.
like that,
I like
Like
that.
you should definitely be setting them straight though within the community because straight people, ew, like
Yeah,
they should know, but they don't care. Um, but yeah, set them
right.
straight.
Like
Yeah,
they come up to you
just
and be like,
different
"Oh,
approach.
hey." They come up and be like, "Hey, King," and you'd be like, "Actually, I'm a non-binary royalty. Thank you." And like, cute shit
No,
like
they're like, what is that?
just
What? It's like
whatever it is.
you
I was
heard
like,
what they said.
we have no
Yeah,
idea what your identity is, so we're just, going off of guesses. But yeah, I think there are fun ways to hold the community accountable and then continue with your TED Talks.
that's funny.
That's so funny. You said
Yeah,
priorities, right?
I
That's
mean,
what that's how they
listen,
did it.
yeah, I understand, but you should be setting them straight.
Yes.
Just work on the approach.
Our
Work on
people
the
need to
approach.
be they need to know.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. All right. Well, that's it for this week's MI Bad Queer. Send your questions to badqueers.com. Hit us up on IG at badqueerspod or email us at badqueers@badqueers.com.
All right. What type of bad queers would we be if we didn't have unpopular queer opinions? We got community notes for the day. Both of us.
We do.
Both of us. All right. So my bad queer community note is to never judge a stud by her past.
Mm.
This is talking about before the stud has come out.
Mm.
Because there
Oh,
are a
okay.
lot of studs.
I was
You
like,
were like,
well,
I know you stopped. You were like, wait a minute. And
mm.
I'm like, I know, I put the pause in the wrong place. I apologize.
Yeah.
I didn't finish my thought. My
That was
allergies
at
kicking
your
in.
own
I was
peril.
like, wait a second.
Okay.
I said, never judge a stud by her past prior to coming out.
Okay.
Because
Yes. Yes.
there are a
Mm.
lot of studs out here
I
that
was like,
live
what stud is paying you to say this?
sponsored by.
Yeah, right.
But there are so many studs out here that have whole like heteronormative lives that they lived before coming out. Baby
Yeah.
daddy, children,
Hmm.
like buying a house, doing the things. I
The
was
whole
reminded
thing.
of this when a teammate who I would have never guessed,
Mm.
ever,
Had a whole family.
told a story about the multiple children that they have and the
Hmm.
ways that they got down and that they were married for double-digit amount of years and all sorts.
Hmm.
My mind was blown, but it reminded me that I was like, a lot of times it is studs that have lived these hardcore heteronormative lives
Mm.
prior to coming out, which made me think even bigger into like why studs stay leaning into heteronormative stereotypes as well. And that was a deeper
Mm.
conversation I had to have with myself. Big
Mm.
brain activity.
Yeah.
So I put those together, but I stopped and I was like, man, so many of these studs have done that. And we just shouldn't judge them for it because that was an era for them. That was a journey.
Hmm.
They've made it to the other
A
side.
chapter in their book.
But my goodness, I had to think about that and was like, this is probably why the stud community doubles down on like these stereotypes because they lived this life and now it's almost like I don't know if it's compensating or
Yeah, I
what,
think
but
there's some
yeah,
overcompensation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Trying to feel their way. I think there's a level of once you do identify as a stud or a masculine of center person having this adjustment period which, could take months, years, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, of like where you fit in masculinity, like
Yes.
what works for you really the best, And some of them jump right to the opposite and most extreme stereotype within that, so they go all the way with it, and then they might either stay there because that's truly how they feel
Mm-hmm.
and identify, or they're like, oh, okay, not so much.
Yep.
So, everybody has a past.
Everybody does.
Every person is on their own, journey and path. So, um, yeah, no, this is a good one. This is a good one because yeah,
Thank
they
you.
have I think a lot of suds in masculine center people sometimes probably feel like some shame with that, or want to hide that, and it's fine
Mm-hmm.
because we did have a very toxic atmosphere of like, oh, are you a gold star and all that, but
Yep.
nah, people have past.
They
And
do.
I mean, people used to have to do these things to keep up appearances. It just wasn't as easy as it is now. So yeah, shout out to that community note. My community note is if you make a living through your personal vlog, your content about your everyday life, if you grow, you get big, numbers, vanity metrics, product deals, brand placements.
Mm.
You're all paid because people follow your life and the content you put out about your life. Then you do owe your supporters some explanation when some wild news comes out about your life. Keep this general, but
I'm about to get on a Google. Like what?
I'll tell you afterwards. Because we don't ever on this, we don't ever really get too messy with the goings on.
No.
And you probably heard about this because you usually send me stuff about TikTok, but my wife told me about this one, so I was like,
Oh,
oh
am I
shit.
late? That's
You probably seen it. You
what?
probably seen it. Yeah, you
I
probably
might be
seen it. I'll tell
late.
you. I'll tell you when I get off.
Okay. All
But
right.
yes, I
Podcast is
think you
wrapping up.
do.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
right. You're like shout out. But I think you do owe your supporters some explanation. Like it's not the same thing as if you are in the public eye and you're an actor, actress, or an athlete or somebody where you're performing a like forward facing job, but that's like your job. Which they still have to deal with, you know, they'll have to deal with the paparazzi and people commenting on them and notoriety that comes with being famous. But I think if you specifically make your if you specifically make your content about your life, then I do think you owe your supporters an explanation when something big happens, or new information comes out. You could craft your response in any way. You get with the PR team and whatever you want, but I think you do owe your supporters, the people that helped you make your living, some sort of explanation because they do support you. Um, so yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
People might know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Um,
So excited for after.
but yeah, the internet is a wild place. I tell you that. Real life is stranger than fiction. Ooh, shout outs.
Shout outs. Well, let's go
Shout
ahead and
outs.
wrap up the show
You're
because
gonna say all quick.
we would never leave you without giving shout outs to our faves.
You have
My
it on like 2x, trying to go fast. Skipping
my
ahead 10 seconds.
shout out this week goes to Black Alphabet. Black Alphabet is a Chicago-based LGBTQ plus arts, media, and wellness nonprofit. They are committed to giving the Black LGBTQ plus community a voice through arts and media. Black Alphabet is home to the Black Alphabet Film Festival, or BAFF short, and is Chicago's first Black LGBTQ film festival. So you can check them out, follow, and support at Black_Alphabet on IG.
All right, my shout out goes to the Bulldagger Chronicles, which is a podcast and show created by Toni Young. The Bulldagger Chronicles seeks to center those of us who are masculine, our love, our history, and our transformation from invisible to invincible
Hmm.
within the LGBTQIA community, but also within professional and commercial enterprises. You could follow and support on IG at Bulldagger Chronicles.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
Me again. Can we talk about things? I'm sorry that I'm